Good morning. This is the weekly VOLTHA TST meeting, and it is probably the first one of the year. All right, so let's dig down into the agenda. Um, just to revisit, we're under code freeze right now. That started back on February 2nd. Actually, this is the second meeting, and the release date is expected to be on the 12th. Okay, so doesn't look like there's any new announcements for today. Let's see. Let's see. No, but no, that's not important. Okay, so for just general updates for the release, going through and trying to rebuild a lot of the libraries. So VOLTHA Protos was published. It's been tagged and branched. I think it's 5.4.12 is what was released. Just some background, when we release repositories for VOLTHA, there's two different types that we create. This is all documented on docs.voltha.org. There's two repositories that we actually create branches in, and that's what signifies we're doing the release. That's both the Helm charts and both the system tests. We'd create, the VOLTHA-2.12 branch off of those repositories. For both the protos and everything else, we end up creating a tag on the repository, in this case, v2.12.0, and then from the tag, we end up hanging the VOLTHA branch off of that, and that's to avoid it's probably for like OpenOLT and some of the repositories where we have potential to create version conflicts. So we create a tag and then a branch rather than just creating a branch outright to avoid messing with them, causing problems for any underlying versioning. And yeah, this was just git log for the for VOLTHA Protos, or this is the job that checked it in. So Mahir found a problem with one of the tests, and I'm forgetting which one it manifested in. So we have a problem with the ONO SADIS component right now. There's two different versions of the faster XML Jackson package being used. There's two references to it, one for Jackson Data Bind and the other one for Jackson Core. We have inconsistent versioning being used. One is using 2.10.2 and the other one is using 2.15.2. And one of the jobs are failing because it detects the version inconsistency. So I'm trying to rebuild the SADIS component using 2.15.2 for right now. In the POM XML files, a separate problem came up. We have an automated job that handles building and publishing the ONOS component specifically. That job, it's been working fine the last two release cycles. For some reason, it decided to start failing because we're missing a commit ID string. It looks like the commit hook failed to update the string, but the commit hook exists on disk. We're able to run commands, so I'm still poking at that. I'm wondering if the config might have been changed so it's now no longer adding the commit ID string, but we need to get this resolved in order to push the updated SADIS component out so other things can be rebuilt and we can then test. Does anybody have any questions about any of that? Yeah, this is basically a normal build and upgrade bug fix thing, but the Jenkins job's getting in the way on this one for some reason. Another problem that was fixed, we had a problem in both the ONO sanity test. This is the JIRA ticket that it came up under. What we were seeing was in the job logs, there was mention to the apt system package command being unable to find a release file for one of the repositories. And there was another message about the SSL certificate wasn't trusted. It looks like it was expired. There is a known problem with some of the Docker image or some of the base OSs that the Docker images are built from, the installer command can fail. The workaround for that, we really should use it, get a newer base OS installed to fix all of that. But the workaround for it was to reinstall the CA certificates package and grab the latest certificate for the one that was failing. That fixes in. So basically we can build the Docker image properly now and the test is able to run. So that's all squared away. There was another problem that came up, and I'll try and speed this up because I'm taking up quite a bit of the time. So we had the attack on the wiki server a while back, and a bunch of pages disappeared. In the VOLTHA docs repository and on the docsvoltha.org website, there were several references to the URLs for pages that were on those wiki servers, which ended up, if you tried to run make lint on the VOLTHA docs repository after checking it out, it started failing due to all of the invalid URL references. So a job went through into finish, basically clean up all the URLs so they stopped complaining about it. That's in as well. GVC. So background, we needed to upgrade the version of Golang that's used in the Docker image to 1.17.10. There's a little bit of work that's been going on with that, but GVC may not make it into the V12 release, but we'll do it 2.12 release, but we can work on getting in and afterwards. The job to upgrade the Docker image config needs some debugging. There were some problems that showed up with that. And there's also some future work that's going to need to go on. After I upgraded to 1.17.10, some problems began showing up. One of them, we use the go get install command in quite a few places. That has been deprecated as of version 1.17. You just get warnings, but this command is going to stop working at some point in time. And there's also a write-up, it's mentioned in this JIRA ticket, that it was very common to define go 111 module equals on. That's also been deprecated and will need to be cleaned up and removed so we can, later on upgrade Golang above 117. I know that's quite a bit. Does anybody have any questions before we continue?
Joe, it's VGC, I guess. Not cheap. Yeah.
Okay. I'll fix that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thinking all of that, I think you said we will not get it into the VOLTA 2.12.
That's correct. And I did send out a heads up in Slack earlier in the week too about that it was questionable.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Joe, is it that it takes a bit more time? We have to do a lot of work there, or we're locked on? I think so.
So basically from the ground up, the Docker image needs to be rebuilt with the Golang image. I'm able to do that locally, but the job is failing in the build system. There were a bunch of, one of the problems that came up, GitHub was hitting, or when we're interacting with GitHub with the image, we're hitting rate limiting somewhere. I don't know what's triggering that. And there were some other problems going on, but I got to go find that job again. But basically we have to get the Docker image in with the latest version of VGC, then set the Jenkins jobs up to be able to run, the pipelines to be able to do anything, before we'd be able to initiate Jenkins jobs. And that work will need to go on concurrently with the release builds that are going on. And, we're having to debug problems with the SADIS component, which there's other tests failing that are dependent on this version update. So just bandwidth is the big problem right now.
Okay.
Let me see with that. It looks like Jan's filled in the section for testing pipelines. If If you want to go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, sure. So this is basically a quick summary from our side. I guess Christina and Mahir have been working a bit on getting the testing pipelines to work. So the current status as of now is the DT pipelines are still in more or less the passing state as they have been in for a while, 27 out of 32, and the remaining failing ones are those bandwidth guarantee tests where we're still not sure why that is. Might be broken ONU, might be broken interpretation of output, might be all kinds of things. But I guess we decided to ignore that for now. For the TT pipelines, there's 16 out of 16 passing when we disable the multicast part. The multicast tests obviously need to be fixed. It's a bit questionable still why the multicast tests are failing. So one of the assumptions or theories were that it might be related to the ONU. So this is really just an assumption, at least to what I know. It's not like anything that has been proven anywhere. Yeah, and like trying with different OLTs, obviously not OLTs, ONUs means like switching the whole testing and whatnot. There's a couple of different things here. So the ESCOM ONUs connected to the OLT were obviously the same models that we already tried. So there's not much like gain from trying with those basically. The Atran ONUs have not been tested with the Turk Telecom workflow, so we didn't go for that. The Edge Core XGS PON OLT does not have any config, so we can't really test with that. So the only thing that was or seemed reasonable was trying to test with the Zyxel combo OLT and then the Zyxel ONUs. So there's two in the rack. Those are also the two that were never really documented. So those were the ones that I discovered when I looked at the rec the first time, and then it's like, ah, cool, what is that? Yeah, so we documented them. We checked the cabling again. So the cabling and everything looks fine. It seems that one of them is not showing up at all. The other one seems to be showing up, but the LEDs on the ONU shows a loss of signal. Yeah, so it's unclear why they are not working right now. There's multiple reasons that could be investigated, I guess. Starting from the OLT itself. So when we talked last year to Zyxel basically said that they are not sure, or differently, they basically said they're quite sure that they would need to patch the open OLT builds that are running on the Zyxel OLT to be compatible with the newer VOLTHA releases. So that might be one thing here. We never continued down this path because we focused on EdgeCore then. So it might be that the open OLT build itself or like anything on the OLT might not be working as expected. The next part is really, it's unclear if the ONUs, the Zyxel ONUs are or have ever been properly working, because as said before, those were installed at a lot later stage. It's also not completely clear who installed them because they were also not documented. And then the other part is, especially regarding this loss of signal thing, it's unclear if the cabling itself is working as expected. So there's obviously some fibers, some attenuators in between. So that's another thing that could be investigated. So there's a bunch of different things here that we could try to take a look at if this is still a priority of doing right now. That's just the current state of the testing pipelines.
Okay, good. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts or?
Yeah, Jan, is Christina still working on this item? Did she check the cables of the ONUs for Zyxel?
Yeah, this is what I just said, right? So we checked the cables of the ONUs. We checked the ONUs themselves, the LEDs on them. We checked the OLT. So all of those things were checked and are documented.
Okay. Do you know if we have any spare splitters, etc., if we want to change the splitter?
That would be a question that is probably best addressed to Björn, who is luckily in the call. So Björn, putting you on the spot here. Do we have any spare equipment parts lying around?
Thanks for putting me on the spot. Yeah, most likely we have. Most likely we have in our lab something we can bring over.
Okay,
It
good.
would be good to have an idea what kind of splitter we have to exchange. So the 1x4, 1x8, or whatever is built up there, so that we can bring the correct one.
As Jan said, it's only have 2 ONUs connected to it. So I guess anyone.
So I have to check the passive cabling again, because this is something that we did not specifically document. I think those might be different splitters. I have to see. But that's something, I mean, we don't have to like coordinate that here. So if there is spare, sorry, if there is spare parts and it's of interest to try to exchange the cabling and splitters and stuff like that, we can try to set up the needed meetings and like allocate time to do that.
Yeah, it would be good. We can do that bilateral.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, I mean, I want to propose to continue to releasing, even if we cannot solve this problem. We currently have the hardware test for TT passed, all passed, without multicast only. And in multicast, we saw that all of the configuration is done correctly on ONUs and side and ONT side, and all flows are installed in VOLTHA, and everything seems clear. So it's likely because of the ONU. This Circom ONU is is this the first time we are doing multicast test on this model? It's likely because of the ONU. For DT cases, I think the problem that we could not get 3 tests, bandwidth test green, is because of the ONU again. I think it's not because of the ONU. That's what we think. I guess that's what I heard from the previous meetings.
Actually,
So, yeah.
just to add to that, sorry, man. So anyway, the bandwidth parameters will need to be changed for the TT use case. So anyway, I think so we can go ahead specifications for now. Anyway, the new values are not updated there, so we can update new values in the next release and get them.
Got it. Yeah. Under these circumstances, I propose to, go with the release and accept these 2 items as the known problems, that at least known issues that need to be checked after the release. Because the alternative is to, freeze again everything and freeze the release and, go with the tests until we solve them, and then do the release. So any objection to continue with the release?
We can try one thing for the bandwidth, even though to get them passed. There was one known problem with the Circom ONU firmware, which we have got. So if we update that, probably it should go through, because there was one problem with the ONU on the bandwidth.
Okay, let's do it. Still have
But
this.
is that the thing that we discussed a while ago that Björn also mentioned, where we received like a firmware update for the ONUs, but this is for a different type of
Yes, I think
ONU?
so. I think that's the same, yeah. Yeah, that's a set. We have an update, but not for that model. We have a lot of or some of in our test beds. So we have just an update and new software for a particular type, or well, for one of the type of the SACOM ONTs. And therefore, and unfortunately, it's not the type which is mostly used in the ONF test bed. So therefore, we discussed it a while ago. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So then if this is the same thing, then this will not fix the bandwidth issue.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the V1 which is being used beyond, I think, right? The SACOM ones.
The version 1 is what we have in the lab in the
Okay.
ONF test bed, and the V2 is what we have in the DT test bed, and the V2 we have the upgrade already, but for the V1 it is not yet there.
Yeah, right.
It will come. It will come, but it is not yet. It's not there yet.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. Then I most likely probably it's that problem. So I think so for now we can skip these cases. Can go ahead.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to bring up with testing or release related items around these testing problems or any of that fun stuff? All right. Just a couple of more minor things. So been trying to pull together some JIRA queries to look for, do ticket triage. One of the ones that was added, I think Mahir has cleaned up a bunch of these. We pulled all of the the JIRA tickets that were closed within since last December until now, so should be in the release time frame. They're not status, duplicate, won't fix, any of the stuff we do not care about. And was also we need to have a value put into the fixed version string, so we know when we're doing release notes, we know what release it's for. And yeah, I know. Go ahead.
So, yes, I went over the tasks and closed some of them because they were too old. So the ones that does not have the fixed version on them are actually too old tasks that resolved back in some releases, but haven't closed yet. So I closed them, but I couldn't put any fixed version on them. There are a bunch of, I don't know, around 10, 15 tasks like that. The other task that belongs to VOLTHA 2.12, our current release, I labeled them with fixed version 2.12. So all the tasks we have solved in this release timeline, they labeled with VOLTHA 2.12.
Okay, good.
The remainings are not, that they don't belong to the current release. So
go ahead.
you can do the search with the fixed release.
Fixed field. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Not with the date. So
I'll add another query then. What we could do, it's not required. We could add an extra label on the tickets and use that as a filter to exclude those if there's no version string in it. But
okay,
yeah, that's minor. Okay. Yeah, I have to add another one, another JIRA query that's part of 2.12, but not currently closed, just to get the open tickets. Minor, I need a code review on, sorry, let me get on a patch. There was a latent syntax problem in BBSim it's minor. I just had to run Go format on the Go format SEW on the sources to fix some spacing problems, but that was causing a lint error to show up when you tried to do a check-in on the BBSIM repository. If somebody could do a code review on that too, that would be helpful. Okay, so feel free to add any code reviews that you need in there as well. Looks like Ablash has added a bunch. Ablash, if you'd like to take the floor.
Yeah, sure. So these are like one is on the failure, Joey, on the Helm charts, which we were following up anyway.
Okay.
So that's on the version thing, and that needs to be reviewed. And one is I think so. Jan had a -2 on that, so that that's being fixed. Jan has to just give a +1 if we can manage to check it. And yeah, this is the one which I think so had issues with the pipeline, the versions.
Ablash, if there are no critical items here to, get into the 2.12 release, we can postpone getting them after the release, because we're in freeze. So anything critical we can take in, but if there's no critical issue that, break the release, etc., we should skip them.
Yeah, they're not like critical as such, like nothing is breaking. And most of them are like good to have.
Okay.
Yeah, should be fine.
Yeah, go through them, and if
Yes.
there is a critical one, please, inform community in Slack channel. So request the review and say that we need to get this before the release, and then we can review it and talk offline.
Yeah, sure, I can do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, I guess the floor is open if anybody has anything they'd like to add. One note I'll add, on I think it's the 23rd, I'll be in California. So if anybody would like to host the TST meeting on the 23rd, that would be appreciated.
23rd of Jan?
Correct, yes.
Okay. If I'll be around, I can.
Okay, thanks.
Let's talk this offline, and when it gets closer, the dates get closer, then we can talk again. If I'll be around, I can take it.
Okay, cool. Okay, does anybody else have anything they'd like to add? I gotta go back through the Jira tickets too. Okay, I guess it's quite a bit for today. Okay, looks like we can give you about 30 minutes back from your day. Thanks for joining, then.
Thank you, Joe.
Yep, thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.